Welcome to the new episode of Communication Studies. In this segment, we would like to discuss in detail about various types of communication. Communication has been classified into several types depending on the social situations in which it operates and also based upon the technical devices used to facilitate it. It can be vary from intrapersonal to interpersonal and group communication to mass communication. In our daily life, we are engaging each other with any of these communication methods. Now, let us discuss in detail about the various types of communication methods.
Types of communication. Communication has been classified into several types depending upon the social groups in which it takes place and upon the technical devices used to facilitate it. The types range from the intrapersonal and interpersonal to the group and mass communication. Intrapersonal communication. Communication that takes place within an individual is called intrapersonal communication. The individual functions here as the source and the receiver. It includes our reflection, contemplation, meditation, our inner monologues, our reflection upon ourselves, and our relationships with others and with our environment. Conversing with the divine may be termed transpersonal communication. In intrapersonal communication, the starting point and destination of messages are within the same person. The principal functions carried in this communication are commonly referred to as thinking and feeling. We use intrapersonal communication as a means of self-assurance, of confidence building, of confidence maintaining, as well as of self-discovery.
Yedo hasta stado mana. Yedo mana stado bhava. Yedo bhava stado rasa. Kollada.
ഇവൻ എവിടെ പോയി കിടക്കുക? ഒളിച്ചിരുന്ന പെയിന്റ് അടിക്കണേ. രാഘവോ? രാഘവോ?
Interpersonal communication. Interpersonal communication is face-to-face communication between two persons or more in close physical proximity. In other words, interpersonal communication describes any mode of communication, verbal or non-verbal, between two or more people. It is considered the most effective type of communication because it is personal, direct, intimate, and allows maximum interaction in word, gesture, and expression. Communication between two persons is also known as dyadic communication. Interpersonal communication is vital to every society. It feeds the minds of people, enriches their personalities, and quickens their imagination. But just as it infuses life, it can also generate problems if misused. Personal rivalries as well as racial, religious, regional, communal, and international conflict could be resulted through the improper use of interpersonal communication. Stages of interpersonal communication. First one, the casual stage. The initial exploratory stage of communication determines the course conversation that will take. The first step is known as the casual stage. It begins with a hi or a hello, how are you, good morning, or even a simple namaskaram or vanakkam. The accompanying gestures are the meeting of the eyes, a smile, perhaps a handshake, and moving in closer to a talking distance. The casual stage is, therefore, a warming up time during which ritualized greetings are exchanged. In themselves, the words and gestures exchanged during this period do not mean much.
ആറ്റിങ്ങൽ HDFC ഉണ്ടായിരുന്ന ഒരു ഭാസ്കരൻ നായരുണ്ട്, അറിയാമോ? എന്റെ കൂടെ ബാംഗ്ലൂർ ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു.
ഭാസ്കരൻ നായരാണോ?
അതെ, ഭാസ്കരന്റെ മോളെ പോലെ തന്നെ ഉണ്ട്.
അച്ഛനെ അറിയോ? ഞാൻ ഭാസ്കരൻ നായരുടെ മോളാ, പൂജ നായർ.
പിന്നെ I told you we were in Bangalore together, very close friends.
അതെയോ?
To personal stage. The second stage, called the personal stage, introduces a more personal element into the conversation. During this period, we are prepared to shed our inhibition and ready to share our feelings and impressions. Once we reach the personal stage, we are likely to talk about personal matters such as one's profession, family, health problems, and the like.
ഓന്റെ കുഞ്ഞു മനസ്സിൽ തന്നെ എന്നോട് ദേഷ്യമായിരുന്നു. ഓൻ വളർന്നപ്പോ ആ ദേഷ്യം വലുതായി. എന്നോടും ഈ ഹോട്ടലിനോടും ഞാൻ വിശ്വസിച്ച എല്ലാത്തിനോടും അവൻ വെറുപ്പായി. ഓനോട് ചെയ്തത് തെറ്റാണ്, പക്ഷെ അത് തിരുത്താൻ എനിക്ക് അറിഞ്ഞുകൂടാ.
അതിനെ തിരുത്താൻ ഉപ്പ സമ്മതിച്ചിട്ട് വേണ്ടേ?
3. Intimate stage. This stage is reserved for close friends and relatives. The degree of intimacy depends upon the closeness of the relationship. To some, we open our minds completely. To others, though good friends, we are reluctant to share everything. However, it's a stage when social barriers fall and we are at peace. In a way, in this stage, interpersonal communication achieves its highest form.
എന്താടാ ദാസ, ഇടാ നമുക്കെന്താ ഈ ബുദ്ധി നേരത്തെ തോന്നാത്തത്? ഏത് ബുദ്ധി? അല്ല, കണ്ടവന്റെ ഇടിയും തൊഴിയും വാങ്ങി നക്കാപ്പിച്ച ശമ്പളത്തിന് ജോലി ചെയ്യുന്നതിന് പകരം ഇതുപോലെ സ്വയം ബിസിനസ് ചെയ്യാനുള്ള ബുദ്ധി. ദാസ, ഓരോന്നിനും അതിൻ്റെതായ സമയമുണ്ട് മോനെ.
Group communication. Communication by many persons in a face-to-face situation is described as group communication. Here, as the group grows in size, communication tends to become more and more of a monologue, reducing participation. The degree of directness, therefore, depends on the size of the group, the place where it meets, and also the relationship of the members of the group to one another. In group communication, feedback is more difficult to measure and respond to. It takes time before meanings are classified and responses assessed. Thus, group communication is a more complex process than interpersonal communication. Schools, colleges, office, dinner parties all serve as best places where group communication happens.
Excuse me?
Yes?
Mr. Satyan, മിനിറ്റുകളുടെ വ്യത്യാസം കൊണ്ട് ഇത്രയും വലിയ പ്രോഫിറ്റ് ഉണ്ടായി എന്നാണോ പറയുന്നത്?
രാവിലെയും ഉച്ച കഴിഞ്ഞും ജോലി തുടങ്ങുന്നതിന് മുമ്പുള്ള സൈറൺ, ഓരോ മിനിറ്റ് നേരത്തെയും ഉച്ചയ്ക്കും വൈകിട്ടും ജോലി അവസാനിപ്പിക്കുന്നതിന് മുമ്പുള്ള സൈറൺ, ഓരോ മിനിറ്റ് താമസിച്ചടിച്ചപ്പോ ഡെയിലി വി ഗോട്ട് 4 extra minutes.
I don't know if it would be an attack or an emergency or maybe a Red Cross doctor or a pizza guy, but I know they are going to infiltrate us somehow. And that will be our opportunity to employ a Trojan horse. What's that?
Don't know, but you know what it sounds like?
No.
Public communication. Public communication occurs when a group becomes too large for all members to contribute. One characteristic of public communication is an unequal amount of speech. One or more people are likely to deliver their remarks to the remaining members who act as an audience. This leads to a second characteristic of public settings, that is, limited verbal feedback. The audience is unable to talk back in a two-way conversation as an interpersonal or small group setting. This doesn't mean that speakers operate in a vacuum when delivering their remarks. In some cases, audience can have a chance to ask questions and offer brief comments, and in very large public meetings, the non-verbal reactions like clapping, hooting, howling, etc. offer a wide range of clues about audience's reception of the speaker's remarks. Public meetings and political conventions are examples of public communication.
മഹാത്മാ ഗാന്ധി നമ്മുടെ രാഷ്ട്രപിതാവ്. പിതാവിനും പുത്രനും പരിശുദ്ധാത്മാവിനും സ്തുതിയായിരിക്കട്ടെ. സുഹൃത്തുക്കളെ, ഞാൻ ദീർഘിപ്പിക്കുന്നില്ല. ദീർഘിപ്പിച്ചോളൂ. എന്തെത്ര ധൃതി? ഇന്ന് വേറെ എവിടെയെങ്കിലും പ്രസംഗമുണ്ടോ? സ്നേഹിതരെ, ഞാൻ എന്റെ വാക്കുകൾ ചുരുക്കുന്നു. നമസ്കാരം. ഞാൻ എന്റെ കാലുകൾ നിവർത്തുന്നു. നമസ്കാരം.
നന്ദി പ്രകാശിപ്പിക്കുന്നതിന് ലോക്കൽ കമ്മിറ്റി ജോയിന്റ് സെക്രട്ടറി ബെന്നി കൊമ്പനക്കാരനെ ക്ഷണിക്കുന്നു.
എനിക്ക് മുമ്പ് സംസാരിച്ച മഹത് വ്യക്തിയുടെ അഭിപ്രായങ്ങളോട് 100% ഞാൻ യോജിക്കുന്നു എന്ന് നിങ്ങൾ കരുതണ്ട. മറ്റു ചില കാര്യങ്ങളാണ് എനിക്ക് നിങ്ങളുടെ ശ്രദ്ധപ്പെടുത്താനുള്ളത്.
Mass communication. When Christopher Columbus discovered America on October 12, 1492, the King of Spain knew of it 5 months later. When Abraham Lincoln was assassinated on April 14, 1865, Europe heard the news 12 days later. In 1969, when Neil Armstrong stepped onto the moon, over 70 million people in some 50 countries watched it on television sets in their homes. The 2018 World Cup football final between France and Croatia was watched live on television by more than 1 billion people in nearly 200 countries around the world. Mass media has revolutionized the manner in which messages, ideas, and events are communicated. Mass communication is the process of delivering information, ideas, and attitudes to a sizable and diversified audience. This is done through the use of media developed for that purpose, namely newspapers, magazines, radio, television, websites, social media, networks. The act of mass communication is much more complex than that of face-to-face communication. It is addressed to masses, to an extremely large audience. Mass communication is all around us, and it is the principal means by which we obtain information and form attitudes. Mass communication really began with the invention of the printing press, which brought revolutionary changes in society. But communication explosion actually began with the emergence of electronic media. Currently, we live in a mass-mediated society, and we have reached the stage where we get live pictures and reports of events as they unfold in any part of the world.
KSRTCക്ക് ഒരു ദിവസം ഹർത്താലിലൂടെ നഷ്ടപ്പെടുന്നത് 3.5 കോടി രൂപയാണ്.
ഞാനൊരു പാവം വർമ്മ, ദേവൻ, ദേവരാജൻ, ദേവരാജ പ്രതാപ വർമ്മ, ഇവരുടെയൊക്കെ ദേവ്ജി.